Chapter 4. Adventus. The cesspool is hard to paint in words, although it's covered in so many advertisements and brands. I've been here before, and every time it's the same feeling I had on my first visit. The buildings scrape along the sky and are so tall that they almost seem to stand directly over you, tilting to cover all sight of blue. It's concrete claustrophobia, made with packed people, smoke, cars, and the proud faces of shiny blue glass. Somehow there's a presence to it as well, a sort of dark feeling I have. It's something cold and wicked in the air, a sound that never leaves the ears. The older buildings are adorned with gods of the ancient world. They're the pagans' patrons of wheat and harvest, forever standing over a city void of farms. They're gods of plenty in a realm of hunger, unable to bend their concrete arms to the beggars that chant just below them for money. Ideas are being shouted from every corner, none of them agreeable to me. Black Hebrew Israelites condemn my race to hell, even the 2% of my sub-Saharan DNA. The liberal white Christians ramble mindlessly about God, as if they're experts after never attending church. I never understood why they insist on making themselves authorities on morality. They don't think of decency, not really. Their brains are sponges for celebrity opinions and television programming. They eat out of a pig's trough of partial philosophies. It's just a place packed with everything, yet empty. I'm happy to be getting out of the city. I prefer Long Beach much more. It's a weird sort of place. The flight was gentle. At some point after we landed, the annoying grungy man had vanished. I was almost afraid he'd want to make plans since we were from the same place. After we all left the plane, we found ourselves in a bustling airport. There were so many people, so much noise. I still feel as though I'll bump into him, or perhaps he's following me in some way. What if he was investigating me? Maybe I'm only being paranoid. My grandmother was paranoid. She had schizophrenia. That's always eaten at me in the back of my mind. There's a bit of that somewhere in me, waiting to be broken like an egg. The right amount of a bad thing and the schizophrenia will surely crack my mind open and spill out my inherited insanity. I'm more afraid of it now, considering my job. It's probably not a good job for me, but someone has to do it. Someone has to help hold the dustpan and collect all the dirt that's in the world. It's such a shame. It infuriates me that he has already been collected. The bad one, the reason why I do what I do. Time drew his number, and he answered as all old, disgusting, perverted men do. I wasn't there to call his number, but I will for many more. The priest in Long Beach, Father Davis McKinney, is making posts on his social media. His number will be called soon. The thrill of the hunt is setting in. He's tagging his locations in a church not far from where I am now. How wonderful the world would be if I could simply walk into that church now and end him. Life's more about games, though. It's more about rules. You can't just walk up to a rectory these days and blow him away. No, people don't like games with so few restrictions. They make laws. You have to hunt him down in the cover of night. Follow him. Call his number quietly, so no others hear it called. Ring, ring, ring. I look over the cracked surface of my ringing phone. That crack was done on the last hunt. A little bit of a reminder. It taught me to make a checklist of things not to leave on a work site. Had it slipped from my pocket and onto the floor of the dead priest? That would not work out well. The face on the screen is of my wife. I had texted her earlier and told her I had made it to New York. She's wanting to do a video chat. I answer. Hello, lovely. She's in our kitchen, holding Sophia, who greets my face on the screen with uncontained excitement. Look who it is, Sophia. Dada. Da 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 da. Sophia's mouth repeats with a line of drool hanging, dripping onto her lunchtime bib. Hey, girl, I smile. What are you all up to? Just got done eating. It's hard to hear her over Sophia's screeching, but I can overhear the boys shouting from a nearby room in the background. I'm just about to eat as well, getting a slice of pizza. That sounds so good. Too bad Sophia isn't here to demand tithes from my plate. I joke. Whenever we have pizza at home, the little girl always begs for small pickings from our plates by slamming her hand on the table. Mary typically ends up feeding her all the best parts of her own slices. Lucky you. Where are the boys? They're chasing after each other. They've been at it all day. I want to see them too. Boys, your father's on the phone. Come say hi. It only takes a moment before they run up beside her at the table. They're panting and red in the cheeks. Richard's hair is wet with sweat sticking to his forehead. Hey, Dad. They grin. You all behaving for Mom? Yes. They lie. Mary rolls her eyes. Help her do some cleaning before you all play anymore. What's the use? They'll clean and then wreck the same room. Ah, well, take it outside then, boys. It's raining here. I'm pretty useless. It's frustrating when I'm so out of my element, especially with my own family. I hate these calls sometimes. I'm just a useless face on their screen. Even Sophia knows it. She tries to grab the phone only to slam it on the table or hang up. Mary holds her distanced so she wouldn't be able to. The boys impatiently wait at her side. They miss having me there, but they don't want a video chat. It interrupts too much fun. Ah, well, boys, don't make things too difficult for Mom. How are the flights? Mary asks. I recant the flights and fictitious work I did. I don't mention the journal. She'd want to know what I wrote, but I don't share those things. Sophia starts crying, not wanting to be held any longer. She wants down to crawl after the boys. My daughter walks now, but to keep up with them she has to use all fours. Otherwise she'd stumble and trip and they would be 2 rooms ahead of her. Mary, I'm going to let y'all go. I love you. I'll call later. All right, love you. The call ends. The small pizza shop is crammed with people, many wearing masks. They're wearing 2 masks these days, one to fake their happiness, the other to fake hygiene. After COVID, many people continued sporting small coverings over their faces, as if they weren't fornicating with strangers, trying new designer drugs, or eating nothing but slices of pizza every day. 1 slice of pepperoni? We're out 10 minutes before the next one's ready. I stand thinking, unsure of what I'd like instead of waiting in this line for 10 minutes. A line of hungry vultures waits impatiently behind me. They're all dressed in black, and each has on their sanitary face mask. 1 slice of cheese, then. He hands it over as I pay, and I walk out with my slice. I consume the thing, savoring much. I'm starving, and I'm getting tired of having a suitcase. I need to check into my hotel. I need to research. I need to rent a car. And I need to find a priest. I already miss my family. I miss the sound of my boys and them attacking me as I stand at the fridge. I miss Sophia hollering for me from her playpen. I miss Mary and her warmth. My hotel room is silent and small. There's a tightly made bed, but no wife in it. I lose a massive part of myself when I'm away from them. I never knew how much of me was them until I started traveling more. I'm hollow. They're an anchor for me. My mind runs wild without them around. Depression knocks at my door. I feel flat and 2-dimensional. Is this what it feels to be single? I wonder if people who haven't made themselves a family always feel this way. In modern culture, there's such a distaste for what I have at home. Do they know what I have at home? Do they comprehend the wonder of being handed finger paintings done by a 1-year-old daughter with eyes observing your every move? Do they understand how it feels to be mimicked by boys aspiring to be like their father? It would be best for me to stop traveling. I know it's true. It would be best for me to return home, call Tommy. It would be better if I didn't run around mysterious cities collecting dirt in my dustpan. It's a shame, but I need to do it. I can't quit. When I'm home, I have the opposite thoughts. Mary sits sadly in her chair. She acts as if I can't see it, as if I don't know that it's there. I know when she's sad. Always. It gets dreadful around the holidays, and she's been very low-spirited the past year. I see her enwrapped in her grief, and I immediately want to be out. I want to bring hell to all who have made such scars on precious things. There is no graver anger than what I have. There's no greater frustration than what I feel when I pretend I'm not taking note of its every effect on my wife. The sick bastard died before I could get my hands on him. No one called his number. I guess the angel of death did, but that's not any good. Someone from this end of eternity should have had the chance. Someone should have been able to say, I know what you are. He died 5 years ago, alone in his house, but on everyone's minds. He likely panicked, but not as everyone who suffered him did. For years they suffered, and continue to suffer. He's unable to molest, but the memory of him is, and it does every day. It molests the woman who should be able to enjoy her little girl without fearing for her future. It's a girl, the ultrasound technician announced on a Monday morning in a beige exam room. The father was beyond excited. There was something magical about a little girl. The little person was something filled with love and joy. It made his heart warm just thinking of the little person who would do everything for him only by existing, even if she never did anything. The mother didn't rejoice. She was silent for a moment and began sniffling. Her eyes flooded with water, and soon after her face was covered in streams of it. She didn't want someone to feel what she felt. She didn't want to worry about the little girl and all the nasty creatures that lurked outside. I'll give you 2 a minute. The technician stepped out. Mary, I said, what's the matter? She's safe now. But once she's born... Mary began to weep uncontrollably. I awkwardly tried to pet and comfort her. I looked for Kleenex and handed her the entire box. She'll have us, Mary. She'll have you. You know what's out there. We'll teach her how to be safe. There's no point. The wicked don't play by the rules. I won't allow anything to happen to her. I promise. She eventually stopped crying for a time. We left the hospital and went home. Later, I would find her weeping again soon after. I knew women are emotional when pregnant. I saw that with the boys, but she cried more. I would wake to hear her crying at night or early in the morning before the sun would rise. I heard her crying in the bathroom under the noises of the fan that she'd try to employ to mute the sound. She would cry and eventually stop crying for a time, but she would cry again. She gained a lot of water weight while pregnant with Sophia, and I thought it was impossible because she wept so much. The boys had avoided her for some of those days, and she'd begun crying about that too. It was months of misery, and I still had to travel for work. I felt such incredible guilt. I still feel guilt. That was when I began, in those days. That was when I started hunting. I struggled to justify my actions at first. The first one, the second one, the third. They were all difficult in their own ways. I dedicated secretly those first 3 to each of my children. When a man kills an evildoer, he is not a man-killer, but if I may so put it, a killer of evil. I would see such quotes in the most bizarre places, from saints. Who could argue with the saints? Sophia was born. I was in town for that. My bosses weren't so heartless to send me away at the birth of my first daughter. Mary was so strong. No one speaks enough of a woman in labor. People are always talking about how tough childless and career-focused women are, as if doing something anyone is capable of is impressive. It isn't. But childbearing, labor, nurturing those first feeds at the breasts are. I always stand at the foot of her bed when she's pushing. I've continually watched as the crown of my children's heads enter our realm of existence. Every time, it's me that cuts the cord, like cutting the ribbon at a grand opening. My wife had been working tirelessly, creating this new human being, a person that had never existed before. At labor, you see the final sweats and tears of her pregnancy. At least, that's how it is supposed to be. Mary would continue crying after Sophia, and I would continue hunting. I dedicated number 4, and all the ones that followed, to the Kleenex boxes and runny mascara. I dedicated them to the times of night that Mary would wake. Father Davis McKinney, the big fish, is just blocks away from me. I look out the window of my hotel, and I can see the very church he is in. The gray stone steeples rise just enough past the trees to be seen, and the buildings that stand on either side of it aren't high enough to conceal it from me. It's raining. Everything is shiny and fresh when it rains. The water rinses the dust away. The only place dust remains is indoors, in homes and places where people work or live. All I have to do, really, is follow the dirt, follow the filth, and I will find the source of it all. I will find the heap of trash that is Father Davis McKinney. I will call his number, and he will answer. I will speak, and he will hear. I will cut, and he will bleed. Tonight is the night I hope to find where he lives. Perhaps I'll be able to get invited in. I rented a car to trail him home. I'm hoping he goes home. I'm hoping he walks or rides home. There are so many points of failure. This part is the most stress-inducing, much more so than completing the act is. This is the hunt. The thrilling hunt. Tomorrow I have work. I'll have to pitch the deal to some men and women interested in devices that watch people die. If I'm not able to meet with him tonight, I'll have to try tomorrow night. The day after, I'll be preparing to go home, and I'll be ready if anything comes up last minute, with either line of duty.